There is no doubt that the United States have pulled out from Afghanistan at the time of the 20th anniversary of the 11th of September. So Pakistan is responsible for the spread of terrorism in this part of the world because they have rented their own country to the United States to fight another country. Political Islam is not a solution to any governing in any country. There should not be mixed between religion and governance. So for me, nobody, as long as you don't change your ideology, there is no good or bad Taliban. There is only one color. There is no doubt that the United States have pulled out from Afghanistan at the time of the 20th anniversary of the 11th of September, which is a clear indication it's a strategic failure of a superpower which have gone to Afghanistan to eliminate Al-Qaeda, the terrorist organization, and remove the Taliban, who was also sheltering Al-Qaeda leaderships, and they refused to hand it over to the United States. So now, after all these 20 years, we have came back to the square one, that terrorism still existed. Taliban back in power with the golden platter and from the United States has been giving them Afghanistan with more than $80 billion of worth of ammunition already in their hand. So therefore, it is a very big blunder and a strategic shift of the United States of the second phase of war against terrorism. So the United States has not been able to defeat or defend its position of pulling out that they have already defeated. Neither they can claim a victory. So we need to see that there is a global war should join hand together to ensure that Afghanistan does not turn again into a hub for the terrorist organizations, and also there should be a checklist of all these terrorist organizations not to gain entry into Afghanistan, and therefore collective stand and a counter-terrorism measures is the prime priority for any nation currently, especially with Taliban back in power with such a swift time. So the international community is worried, regional powers are worried, and the whole world, in fact, is worried. And we need to watch and see what could be the next steps in Afghanistan and how this direction will be in South Asia, whether we are seeing a revival of terrorism or we are going to see stability. We have to watch and see. The irony of the matter that the United States have been very selective and in the terms which they use, the exceptionalism and unilateralism on their policy in fighting terrorist organizations. So we need to see how the United States seriously is fighting terrorists or using the terrorism as a tool to achieve political objective. Let us remember that jihadist culture in Afghanistan started more than 40 years ago when the Taliban and the Al-Qaeda was formed by the ISI, by the Saudi intelligence and the CIA to make sure that they defeat the Soviet Union. And that's what the history have been already written in a blood in Afghanistan. So when the United States joined hand with terrorist organization to defeat USSR, they left behind the terrorist organization and their sheltering in Pakistan, also in northern belt of Pakistan, most of the tribal area. So we do not give Pakistan a clean sheet of being a free country or absolve its responsibility of harboring terrorist organization, and even they have themselves acknowledged that they are also a victim of terrorism. So if they are victim of terrorism, they should understand that you cannot join hand, and whoever cooked the poison will definitely test it. So Pakistan is responsible for the spread of terrorism in this part of the world because they have rented their own country to the United States to fight another country. So they cannot repeat history here by saying that we are going to change history by again bringing or go back to history, bringing back the Taliban and let them do the dirty job of other country. Pakistan has to recognize it is belonging to the South Asian region, belonging to this part of the world, and tranquility, stabilities, and peace should be the priority for any nation, especially at this stage, because we see that there are coronavirus have already spread, there are economic back falling down, most of the country also facing a problem of distrust between each nation. So let's build up, take steps to build up measures, to confident building measures. Maybe we can see there is a future. Otherwise, if Pakistan try to use Afghanistan as its strategic depth to start harboring some of the terrorist organizations who are adverse to India, then I think we are facing a grave dangerous of a nuclear outbreak in this part of the world, because none of the world will take it very simple to let the terrorism take full advantage of the current development in South Asia. See, the problem with the Taliban is they are already a guerrilla groups. It's a jihadist organization who fought. They are very bad on doing governance. So governance is not on their agenda. Therefore, I believe that the Pakistani government and Qatar and even the Chinese and Turkey will play a major role in the future development in Afghanistan and governing of the Afghan country. Therefore, the Taliban have to recognize that the issues, the domestic objective of their own issues should be addressed, and the international community is keeping a close watch on their way of dealing with the woman, the way of dealing with the freedom of speech, or the way of dealing with democracy, and also with the freedom of the press. But reality on the ground give us another different picture from what the Taliban tried to project to the world, that they are different after 20 years and they are able now to develop themselves and to be recognized internationally. I think the international recognition of Taliban will depend very much on their politics and application. Political Islam is not a solution to any governing in any country. There should not be mixed between religion and governance. So therefore, I believe, and I am a strong believer, that we should keep religion out of the things. And Pakistan, remember also that Afghanistan is 1,400 years Islamic country, and Taliban is a new phenomenon. Unfortunately, the international community, it is in a disarray, the new world order in disarray, so there is no respect neither for human rights or democracy or freedoms. So let us be very blank on answering all your questions. There is no question that the United States, because Joe Biden has come to power, he should speak upholding the democratic values and speaking of democratic country and election. Having said that, I would always say that the United States have always been with the wrong partners, whether fighting against terrorism, whether joining hand and supporting when collaborating most of the time with warlords and also those who violated human rights issues all over the world, whether it is in Afghanistan, whether it's in Iraq, whether it is in Syria, or even in Yemen, or even in Libya. Name it, and the United States follow its own policy of regime change, which is harboring and destroying the value of the United States, respecting of democracy and values that they have been upholding for so many years. So therefore, what we need at this moment is that to make sure that the new world order is set in order, and then we can talk of a multipolar world, and we can talk of a multilateralism rather than speaking of unipolar world with the United States. So United States has to accept that it is no more the sole empire, and there are other forces, there are other power who have taken shapes, and they are coming up, and there has to be a respect. So if we can position ourselves in a new world order and see how the world will be revolve and evolve around us, I think we can see that democracy and freedom of speech should be respected. Taliban does not represent the people of Afghanistan at all. They represented only one sect, one ethnic groups. We need a national government in Afghanistan, which is comprises of all the ethnic groups. So therefore, the Loya Jirga, which is a tribal society, so we cannot give them also that they are civil society. Is very difficult. They can transfer in civil society for decades to come. So the Loya Jirga or the elderly council, they can play a major role in ensuring that there is a government representative from all the sect and all the ethnic groups of Afghanistan. Secondly, also the Taliban should also have a sort of a compromise and giving colors to their government from those groups, because the international community will not accept that only the Pashtun being represented. If you look at the current government of Afghanistan, you don't have a single woman. Even the Women Affairs Ministry has been removed. Even there is also very minimum representative of the other ethnic groups. So it doesn't mean that you succeed on a war zone that give you the dominance forces to form only a government of your own. And I think the international community will not come to the rescue of Afghanistan unless and until there is also something respecting human rights and respecting the democratic values anywhere in the world. And I think that is where the Taliban has to understand, that is where the friends of Taliban should tell them that they should be able to stand and should be able to be respectable in the world. There is no question. The American we have seen that the American, since 2015, they have been trying to sell out Taliban to us, that they are the good Taliban, and they open office for them in Doha. They have been meeting people regularly, representative from all over the world. So gradually the world is trying to acknowledge that this Taliban is a good Taliban. So for me, nobody, as long as you don't change your ideology, there is no good or bad Taliban. There is only one color. Absolutely not. It is ridiculous. Seriously, it is a sham in the history of mankind that 20 years have gone and wasted in the drainage. United States went to Afghanistan to fight terrorism on a global platform. The whole world stood with the United States, but they changed their compass and they went to unilaterally, without even UN Security Council resolution, into Iraq. They invaded the country. They took Al-Qaeda with them. They created IS in Syria and in Iraq. And they went into Libya and Yemen, and that's where the American foreign policy has been at failure of dealing with the fight against terrorism. So the world, if you look at the 20 years after the Americans changed their strategy and the fight against terrorism, you will see that there are more mushrooming of terrorist organizations all over the world. There are extremist groups have been nourishing and horizontally have been spread all over the world, and everybody is joining hand. So therefore, I don't think the world is more safer when more than 1 million people have been killed in the name of fighting terrorism, when we know that the United States, even fighting in Afghanistan or in Pakistan, they were very selective in fighting the terrorist organization. They never listened to your country, even to India, when India was saying that we are victim of terrorism. And there was certain group where India have wanted the world to recognize and acknowledge, they refused. India was one of the first countries in the world who have given a comprehensive fight against terrorism, a draft represented to the United Nations. Till date, we are not even agreeing to the terminology or to the definition of terrorism. So therefore, I don't see the world is more safer. The safer, the one you fix your house in order and you fight terrorism in a global world, because terrorism does not have a border, nor does it have any religion. Let us also remember this. There are also indigenous terrorists all over the world. So countries have to recognize, every respective country has to recognize that there are terrorism within itself, and they have to fight it collectively, globally. These are the issues where I wanted to focus more. What we learn from the history now, what could be the challenge? Actually, I will ask myself here. The challenge for the next 20 years is more of a global challenge, because we have now the cyber security, we have now the intellectual artificial intelligence, we have also cyber crimes, we have lots of development in the IT information technology, which can lead to more grave dangers to this world in the space or in the ground. So therefore, we need to learn, we need to fight together, come back to the fight against terrorism, let the global world come together rather than being selective to achieve your political objective. We are talking of international politics. There is no question that we can be selective in fighting against terrorism, or taking a country and they're, catching the ox in his own horn and say this is where terrorism has come from. The problem is that bilateral talk between nations is a must, and confident building measure will bring it to the core issue of solving any problem with anywhere in the world, because somebody's terrorist is another person freedom fighter. So we do not understand how the people see. Having said that, I believe that whoever killed an innocent person, whoever shed a drop of blood of an innocent person, is a terrorist. So therefore, we need to understand how the global affairs should be, addressed, how should be governed this part of the world, how the multipolar world should be seen on this. We do not have to see countries regionally should recognize and should have a powerful leader to see visionary, to be more visionary in understanding that they are not allowing other countries to use them for destroying or destabilizing other nation. If we start thinking on terms of living together in a peaceful world, I think it's a big dream, it's a wish list, but we are living in reality. We need to fight terrorism together. No one can fight terrorists alone. Countries, Pakistan, will be used in the United States before. They have given them enough money. Again, the United States called Pakistan a strategic partner, and between an ally and a partner, there are lots of difference in the language. So if it is an ally, the United States understand that terrorism also is in Pakistan, and Pakistan paying a heavy price. By the way, they have been paying a heavy price. Their soldiers being killed, innocent people are getting killed because they played with the wrong cards. They have joined hand with the United States, making this terrorist organization as a hub for them in northern belt of Pakistan. And I think the United States called the issue of AFPAC. I think now they will call it PAC-AF. So the Pakistan first, then Afghanistan.